This week, Melbourne got some genuinely good news. The Economist Intelligence Unit released its 2026 Global Liveability Index, and Melbourne came in third, the third most liveable city on the entire planet. Sydney was fourth, Adelaide was eighth. Australia had 3 cities in the global top 10, more than any other country on Earth. That's a remarkable result, and Melburnians should be proud of it. But here's the thing, if you've been following the news lately, or watching this channel, you'll know that Melbourne is also dealing with a wave of fire bombings, ram raids, and drive-by shootings. Just this week, a Melbourne cafe was sprayed with bullets. So how can the same city be one of the most liveable on Earth, and feel like it's under siege? Today, we're going to untangle that paradox. First, let's understand what the Global Liveability Index actually measures, because it explains a lot. The EIU Index assesses 173 cities worldwide across 30 indicators, grouped into 5 categories: stability, healthcare, culture and environment, education, and infrastructure. Melbourne scored an overall 97 out of 100, far above the global average of 76.1. It earned particularly strong marks in healthcare, education, and culture and environment. Melbourne actually beat second-placed Vienna in the culture and environment category, reflecting the city's famous arts scene: the laneways, the galleries, the live music, the food. Copenhagen took the top spot for the second year running, with Vienna second and Melbourne third. So this is elite company. These rankings reflect real strengths. Melbourne genuinely does have world-class hospitals, excellent universities, and extraordinary cultural life. Good public transport, clean air, and green spaces. On these measures, the big structural things that shape quality of life for millions of people, Melbourne is genuinely outstanding. And it's worth noting, the index measures these things at a citywide, structural level. It's looking at whether the healthcare system works, whether the schools are good, whether the infrastructure functions, whether the cultural life is rich. On all of those, Melbourne scores near perfect. So where does the crime wave fit into this? Because it's real, and it matters. The stability category in the index does account for crime, but it measures it at a broad, structural level. The prevalence of violent crime, the threat of terrorism, the level of civil unrest, the overall sense of personal security across the whole city, a wave of targeted fire bombings connected to organized crime, and the illegal tobacco trade, which we covered on this channel recently, is serious and frightening for the neighborhoods affected. But in the context of a city of 5 million people, assessed across 30 broad indicators, it doesn't necessarily move the overall stability score dramatically. This is the heart of the paradox. The Liveability Index is measuring the big picture, the systems, the structures, the citywide averages. The crime wave is a specific, concentrated problem: organized crime syndicates fighting a turf war over the illegal tobacco market, plus some youth crime. Both things are true simultaneously. Melbourne can be one of the best run, most culturally rich, best serviced cities on Earth, and have a genuine, frightening organized crime problem in certain areas. At the same time, it's a bit like saying a person is in excellent overall health, but has a specific injury that needs treatment. The overall assessment and the specific problem aren't contradictory, they're just measuring different things. But here's where it gets genuinely interesting, and where the paradox tells us something important. There's a real tension between how a city looks on an international index, and how it feels to the people living in it day to day. The EIU index is compiled by analysts assessing data. It's not a measure of how anxious a Melburnian feels walking past a boarded up, firebombed shopfront in their neighborhood. It's not a measure of whether a small business owner is scared to open up in the morning. It's not a measure of the fear that a drive-by shooting at a local cafe creates in a community. Remember the ANU well-being survey we covered a while back? The one that found Australian life satisfaction at a record low, lower than during COVID lockdowns. That's the lived experience side of the ledger. Australians, including Melburnians, are feeling cost of living pressure, housing stress, and now, in some areas, crime anxiety. The gap between Melbourne ranking third in the world and Melburnians feeling stressed and squeezed is the same gap we've talked about before, between the official numbers and how life actually feels. Both are real. The index isn't wrong. Melbourne genuinely is a wonderfully liveable city by global standards. And the anxiety isn't wrong, either. People are genuinely feeling the pressure of cost of living, and, in some areas, crime. Let's put the global context in perspective, too, because it's illuminating. The cities at the very bottom of the Liveability Index tell you what genuine and livability looks like. Damascus in Syria rank last, followed by Tripoli in Libya, Dhaka in Bangladesh, and Karachi in Pakistan. These are cities dealing with war, state collapse, extreme poverty, and infrastructure breakdown. Tehran, in Iran, was in the bottom 10. and the report specifically noted that the Iran war has undermined stability across the entire Gulf region, dragging down livability scores across the Middle East. When you compare Melbourne's organized crime problem as serious as it is for those affected, to cities dealing with actual war and state collapse, you get a sense of scale. Melbourne's problems are real and need solving, but they exist within a city that is, by global standards, extraordinarily safe, well-run, and pleasant to live in. That's not meant to dismiss the crime issue, it's meant to hold two truths at once. Melbourne has a genuine problem that authorities need to fix, and Melbourne remains one of the best cities in the world to live in. Both things can be and are true, so what should Melburnians take from all this? First, take the pride. Third in the world is a genuine achievement, and it reflects real, durable strengths. The healthcare, the education, the culture, the infrastructure. These are the things that shape most people's daily lives most of the time, and Melbourne does them exceptionally well. Second, don't let the ranking paper over the real problems. The fire bombings, the organized crime, the youth crime issues in certain areas. These are genuine, and they deserve serious attention, not to be waved away with a "we're third in the world" shrug. A great city takes its problems seriously, precisely because it wants to stay great. Third, recognize the paradox for what it is. A city can be world-class overall and still have serious localized problems. The challenge for Melbourne, for its government, its police, its communities, is to fix the specific problems, without losing the broad strengths that make it one of the best places on earth to live. Melbourne is a great city with a real problem. Both halves of that sentence matter. The goal is to solve the problem while protecting the greatness. So Melburnians, does third in the world match your experience of living here, or does the crime and cost of living pressure make that ranking feel disconnected from your daily life? And for everyone else, how does your city feel versus how it ranks? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to hear how the official picture matches the lived one. Like and subscribe for more Australian news explained simply. See you next time.